All right, all right, all right. Welcome, welcome, welcome. If you're here for the first time, and welcome back if you've been here before. My name is Jazzy J, and tonight we're going to talk about the game of life, people. Look, I love the musical genre of jazz. Why? Because it's all based in improvisation and adaptability. Jazz musicians are playing. They got regular patterns. Then comes in these forceful and chaotic notes. And guess what? When it's all infused together, it makes a harmonious sound that everybody loves. And it's just like life. We get into the regular patterns, and then a forceful and chaotic note comes in. And we have to adapt, we have to improvise, we have to do a lot of things. But when it all said and done, it gives you a beautiful, harmonious sound. So that's why they call me Jazzy J. And I say jazz love, jazz do it, jazz on the journey, and always, and I do mean always, remember in life to jazz as you see it. Now let's talk about why we're here tonight. We're here tonight because I was in my regular patterns at about 12 years young, and I had a forceful, chaotic note to come in, and my life just changed at that moment. I was asked a question by a family member, and it had to do with death. It had to do with, at this time, this family member was religious coding, was Jehovah's Witness. And so the inference when I was asked the question is that, what are you going to do when you die? Because if I wasn't a part of this 144,000 that they talk about, that I was going to hell forever. So that perturbed me. That really messed up my world at night. I paced the floor, cussing and fussing, having an intense fellowship with God, what my 12 years young mind imagined God to be at that time, which is just the older version of Jesus up in the clouds making checkpoints on, you went to church, you did confession, you did this. I was raised Catholic, so all of these things. So that's where my mind was. And I asked all of these questions about, what kind of God does this? Why do we have to come here to die? What is life about? What if I don't get a chance to say I'm sorry before I leave this planet? All kinds of things. But then the next morning, when I saw the sun coming through the blinds, after a lot of crying and cussing and fussing, I felt this feeling within me that I can only describe to you as indescribable. But if I had to take a minute to think about it, I would say it was liquid love, exponentially multiplied by liquid peace and joy and gratitude. It was just everything. It was everything. And I didn't hear any voices. I didn't see anything. I just spoke it, and I said, I want to know what this is. I want to know what life is. And from that day to this, God has been revealing to me what life is. And now I'm remembering. So, we're on this journey together. Jazz on the journey. And because, and when I say God, I use the word spirit. So when you hear me say spirit, I'm talking about God. I'll say this. It depends on what household that you grew up in that you know God as. So I grew up in a Christian home, so I knew God as what we call Jesus. His name is Yeshua, but that's what I knew God as. If you grew up in a Muslim home, then Muhammad. If you grew up in a Hindu, Shiva. If you grew up in a Buddhist home, you follow the teachings of Buddha. So it just depends on what home that you grew up in, on who you believe God to be. So, I'm going to talk about the game of life tonight, just give you a broad overview. We're going to get into some deeper things a little later. But I always start out with this. I always start out with the circumference of knowledge. I ask the question, do you see okay? That is the acronym. See okay, circumference of knowledge. This space inside my two hands we'll call the circumference of knowledge. And in that circumference of knowledge is everything that you trust, everything that you believe, everything that you know to be true, everything that you have faith in, all of your opinions and perspectives and all of that is in this space. So if this is my circumference of knowledge, where my two hands are, and this is where most people live, then this room that I'm in is what I don't believe, what I don't have faith in, what I don't know, what I don't trust. It's all of that. So life is about evolution, expansion, and elevation. So most people live in this space, right? And we're going to get into why, but most people live there. So what's outside of the space is just what I said. What you don't believe, what you don't trust, what you don't have faith in. Now, belief, let's talk about belief. Belief is a word, and it has another word in it, L-I-E. And most of our beliefs be lies. I'm going to say that again. That's a jazz note. Most of our beliefs be lies. But we're going to talk about why we believe lies. And a belief, and I hope you all take notes. Take notes, ask questions, and we'll talk about it. I have no problem. Just take notes on what I say. So belief is just a thought that you keep thinking. I'm going to say it again. A belief is just a thought that you keep thinking. So if a lot of our beliefs be lies, then we get thrown off. And we wonder why things aren't happening, things aren't working out, we want to know what life is, why does my life look like this, what's happening. So all of these things are going on because your beliefs be lies. And I'm not saying all of them, but when you understand some things, and a little bit of how you work. We're going to talk about how we work. Not tonight, but we're going to talk about it. I'm not going to be a doctor or anything when I finish. But just how we work as far as our mind, our brain, our senses. Because there's more to the story of just what we've been told. See, Yeshua said it best. Your traditions nullify the truth. So if you keep doing the same thing over and 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 over again, and expecting a different result, they call that insanity. But even in the religious sector, that's happening. And we don't know why things aren't changing with churches on every corner. Because a lot of our beliefs be lies. Okay, let's talk about it. Let's talk about the game. All right? The game of life. What is the game? The grand game of life. The grand game of life is a childhood game we used to play called hide and seek. That's the game, people. Hide and seek. Now, I'm going to be talking about that more, what that is. But I want to give the analogy of a butterfly. I love butterflies. I got one right here. Jazz as you see it. JAUSI. Why? Because the butterfly starts out as a caterpillar. What do caterpillars do? Caterpillars crawl on the earth. That's what they do. When I was young, there was caterpillars everywhere during the springtime. So caterpillars crawl on the earth. And I'm talking about your vision too. Do you see okay? Now, there's something within the caterpillar where the caterpillar knows it needs to go to higher ground. It needs to get to higher ground. See, there's something in you that you know there's a next level. There's an elevation. There's expansion. But you just feel like you're crawling on the earth. But there's something within. All of us have it. I don't care who you are. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you Bill Gates, Oprah Winfrey, Tyler Perry. They got more vision of something to do, to go higher, to expand, to elevate. Just as every one of you. So there's something in the caterpillar saying, I need to go higher. I need to find this tree to go higher so I can build my cocoon. Now, this is the stage that many folk don't like. Because the cocoon, I don't know if you know it, but the caterpillar completely dissolves in the cocoon. And the cocoon is isolation. The cocoon, you're cut off from what you think you know. If you want to, I call it the John the Baptist moment. And I'm going to reference the Bible a lot because that's the faith, that's the religion that I came up in. And I've read other texts, but it's there. It's just how it's told. So John the Baptist leapt in his mother's womb when he came in contact. He felt the frequency, the vibration of Yeshua. When he baptized Yeshua, he heard the voice of God, saw the dove, saw the heavens open up. He knew who he was. But when he got put in that dungeon, he told his disciples, he said, go find Yeshua and ask him, is it he? Or do we look for another? And see, many of us, when we get in that cocoon phase, we don't know what's going on, what's believing, and we feel like we are dissolving. We feel that way. It feels like complete surrender, complete isolation. Just, where am I? What's happening? What's going on? And then we do the John the Baptist. I did it when I moved here to Mississippi, and some things were going awry, and I'll be telling you about a little bit about my life. And that was a question I had. I was like, did I miss? But the funny thing is, when I decided to move to Mississippi, was my first original thought. The first time that I had a uncoded, unprogrammed, unconditioned thought of my own. And when I got here, I was like, John the Baptist, did I miss you, God? Because there was some stuff going on, but we'll get into it. But after that period of being isolated, of being cut off, of people not understanding what you're doing, they looking for you like, what you there for? What? It's funny, when I came back, I'd only been gone maybe about 2 or 3 months, and I went to Walmart in Savannah, and I ran into somebody. I don't remember who it was. I know it was a guy. And he said this to me. He said, hey, Jadera. Hey, what's up? And he said, you still crazy? I said, is that the word? And he said, mm-hmm. I said, I guess I'm still crazy. Because it was a lot going on with me, y'all, when I left. So I don't know if people thought I was having a nervous breakdown or whatever, but I actually felt liberated. I felt free, because I wasn't the only something I was listening to was me. So it was liberating when I moved here. Even though there was a lot going on, and we'll get into it as I go along, but it was a lot going on. But while that caterpillar is in the cocoon, dissolving, isolated, alone, maybe feeling trapped, nobody understands, nobody gets me. How do I look to people? I'm just hanging here in this white sack. But once the cocoon falls away, a butterfly, a beautiful, beautiful butterfly emerges. And there's no more crawling on the ground. The butterfly has another view. And that view is from above, it's from a higher level, because the butterfly is able to fly. It's able to smell the roses. It's able to see from a broader view than the caterpillar did. So I'm saying that to tell you the game is about transformation. See, the view from crawling on the earth is a very different view than flying above the earth. Two different perspectives. This space has expanded, has elevated. So if your circumference of knowledge becomes the room, then what you don't know is the whole house. If your circumference of knowledge becomes the house, then what you don't know is the neighborhood. If your circumference of knowledge becomes the neighborhood, then what you don't know is the city. See, I could keep going. And my point in telling you this is that there's always another level. There's always another level. So, that's the game. And we're going to get into it, but your ego self, let's say that's the caterpillar, and your sacred, secret self is the butterfly. So, what are the rules to the game? Let's talk about it. Now, we've been sold and told and programmed to believe that the rules to the game are competition, and that competition has been distorted, because we're going to talk about what that word means. But it's dual, the rules to the game: competition and collaboration. But when we come here, we're more focused on competition. So, when we look up the etymology, and we're going to look up the etymology of words, that's the root word, what it meant. Okay? So, the etymology of competition is to strive together. To strive together, to meet, to coincide. Right? So, you can talk to me. Something going on?
Yeah, Auntie Dean.
Hey, Auntie Dean. My Auntie Dean on, y'all. Love you. And gotta call you soon. But let's talk about the rules to the game. Friendly competition. Think about how we are so enamored, and I'm talking about the world. The world is so enamored with competition. We have board games, we have card games, we have sports games, we have video games, we have games. Now, competition means to strive together, to meet, to coincide. Now, collaboration means to work together. So, in the game of life, these two things are what are supposed to be happening. Now, we have seen competition get really out of whack. I know back in the day with the Nancy Kerrigan story, and it was another story about it's just been really distorted. Like people trying to unalive people for a competition. You know, it makes no sense. It really doesn't. Because when you compete, and even if you're the person that doesn't so-called win, you need to understand that you won playing the best. And because you played the best, or someone who came out on top, you were able to learn and improve your game from playing them. That's all. That's it. There are really no so-called winners and losers. I know we give prizes, and we run a whole event where we give cash prizes to the winners in the events. But guess what? Everybody at our events win because it improves their health. It improves their physical activity, their health literacy. And if you compete in the games, you may win a bicycle. You may win health gear. But everybody wins because your health is your wealth. So the concept that we've been sold about competition and how really deep it goes, and how some people are coded to believe I need to hurt this person, so when I compete against them, I'll win. That's really not winning at all. That's the distortion that we've been sold and told. I remember when my son was playing Little League football. And this was back in the day, and in this particular year, there were like NFL players that were passing out from heat stroke and all this kind of stuff. And I remember this Little League coach saying, don't give them no water, they ain't no water. I said, you better give mine some. Because I was like, this Little League, this is not that serious. I mean, we should be teaching our children to have fun. Like, you have athletes. We do love athletes. But the thing we love about the athletes is the dedication, the discipline, the wherewithal that it takes to be the best. You know? Like the Serena and the Venus Williams and, you know, in any game there is. That we love how an athlete prepares. And that's the joy but it should be fun for the athlete, whatever they're doing. It really should be. You should love it. Right? And then collaboration, working together. We are all pieces of a grand puzzle. And all the pieces are to work together. To work together. Not hate on each other. Not get angry or jealous or envious of somebody. Because and most of the times when people have that vibration going on, they angry, jealous, and all of that because you're doing something that they're afraid to step out and do. And because you're doing it, then they hate, you know, as they say, they hate on you. That's all it is. And it's okay. It's enough for everybody. But it's like this. If you go to the ocean, if you've ever been to a beach, and you look out at the ocean, and there's water as far as the eye can see. And everybody can take whatever they can take. But some people bring a teaspoon. Some people bring a coffee cup. Some people bring a liter jug. Some people bring a dump truck. Some people, you understand? It's what you want. It's what you want. But the people who brought the dump truck get hated on by the people who brought the teaspoon. Why? We are all endowed with gifts and talents from the Creator. It's just like the parable in the Bible where the master gave each servant talents. And the one he gave one, he went and hid it in the ground. And when the master came back, he was like, ooh, you a hard-ass master. I went and hid it so I can give you back what you gave me. And this is just how the game is played. When you go hide your talent in the ground, your gifts, your talents that you came here to give to humanity, the man said, it's going to be taken from you and given to those who went and produced more with their gifts and talents. And that's how the game is played. So, who's playing the game? Big question. Who's playing the game? God. Spirit. The prime creator, the source of all, is playing the game. That's who's playing the game. That's who's playing the whole game. WHOLE. The whole game. Because God is a gamer. That's why we love games. So, the game of like, what my time look like? I can get go a little deeper. Anthony. Woohoo! What my time look like?
8:32.
8:32. Okay, I can go just a little bit deeper. Okay? So, God is playing the game. And we're all players in the game. So, when I speak to people, am I still in frame? Still in frame. When I speak to young people, I speak to a lot of young people. Has anybody got any questions on there before I go? Okay. And you all can ask questions. I will answer those questions. My time is good. So, let's talk a little bit about how we work. Okay? Because we're not taught this. We're not taught this in school. Some parents may teach it. I see a lot more of that today online. You have some parents that are open, that guide children instead of, a controlling parenting. And we'll get into that. But let's talk about how we work. Okay? When I talk to young people, I ask them, how many minds do you have? And most say one. They say one mind. And I say, no, you have two, the potential of having three. So most people don't know this because we weren't taught it. It's not taught. Our education system is not set up to evolve, elevate, and expand human beings. It's set up. It's a system set up to create human bots. And we'll get into it. Okay? So, most people do not know how the conscious and the subconscious mind works. We have a conscious mind and we have a subconscious mind. And we're going to get into duality, but write that down because we're going to talk about how we live in this third dimension in a dualistic experience as being a human being. Okay? So, our mind, we have a conscious mind and a subconscious mind. Right? Let's talk about the conscious mind. The conscious mind is your creative, imaginative mind. Also know this, that everything I'm going to talk about, source, we are the micro of what source is macro. So source created, right, through its imagination. Everything you see is in the imagination of God, of source, right? So, our conscious mind is our imaginative, creative, genius mind. And actually, this is the mind that I was talking about when I gave the caterpillar analogy. When the caterpillar crawls the earth, is on the earth, but knows there's something within the caterpillar saying, I need to get to higher ground. There's something I need to get to in higher ground. That's the conscious mind. So our children are born, that they come here, genius, creative, imaginative. That's our conscious mind. I have a funny story. I just, my Auntie Dean is on here, and her husband, Otis, my uncle, just transitioned. And my cousin Lily did his eulogy. And as he was doing his eulogy, he was talking about all of these things that he wanted to get into and go into. He wanted to get into weights, and so they bought him the weights, and he wanted to play music, and so they bought him the musical instruments, and then he wanted to just everything. And that's, they were nourishing his creative conscious mind at that time. Because we come here with all of these gifts and talents, and when we're young, we don't have the words all the time. So when we don't have the words all of the time, our children, they don't know how to express. And depending on who's around them in their formative years, they're getting told, shut up, go sit down in the corner, go do this, leave me alone, whatever. But they don't have the words to express from this creative conscious mind. And then some children, they're in situations where they want to do something and family members talking them down out of it. I remember Jay-Z saying something one time about his uncle. He said he was going to sell 1 million records, and his uncle said, you ain't never going to do that. You never going to do that. He said he done sold 1 million records several times. So it's like you have to deal with, when children come here, they deal with subconscious programming of the adults that's around them. So let's talk about the subconscious mind. So the subconscious mind is your programmable mind. It is the mind below. So you have your conscious, creative mind, and when children are born, most of them are operating out of their conscious, creative mind. But they don't have the words to express it all the time. So what they get is the programming of the adults that are around them in their formative years. You can't do that. You can't go over there. You can't be this. Oh, no, we don't do that. We're a family of educators. You can't be no artist. You're going to this school. You're going to study this. We're a family of doctors. Oh no, you're not going to be able. You're not going to be a band. No, you're going here. You're going to Yale. You're going to Harvard. We're attorneys. So you have all of this subconscious programming of the people that are around you in your formative years. So we're going to be going through the levels in the game. So when we're born, you're what I call in my program, an IPC. So IPC, the I stands for identity. You get a family name. The P is for persona. And your persona is where you develop your personality, which governs your personal reality. And then a culture. You're born into a culture. You black, you white, you Asian, you Hispanic. You're born into a culture. And all of those have codes. Your family has a code. Your family has a reputation around. People, I've heard this. They don't come from nothing. They don't come from nothing. So that reputation of that family has a code. Or, they're one of the prestigious families in the community. So that family name holds weight in the community. So you got that going on with the family dynamic, the family name. Then your persona. Your persona is which graduates to be your ego. Okay? So we'll talk about your ego. But that's who you believe yourself to be. Right? And then your culture. You know. And I know in black families, we got a code. I grew up with go to school, get you an education, so you could get you a good job. That was a code when I was coming up. That was a code. And you got to be 10 times better than your white counterparts, or 100 times better. That was a code. That was a code coming up. Oh, you can't do this. You can't go over there. You can't break this ceiling. You can't. It was a lot of them codes too. So it was a lot. It was a lot coming up with the culture code, and it's a lot in our culture. You know, cultures. And you can see it. You know, everybody, you know, talks about what the culture has been through. And we're learning that. We're learning about different cultures because of the internet. Now the information, people can put out the information so you can know. You can hear from the Asians. You can hear from Hispanics. You can hear. I didn't know the Indians. That was something that Native Americans, they didn't, something I read or heard that, you know, Indians, they don't like to be called Indians. Yeah, you know that. So even cultures, learning about different cultures. Cultures have codes. So this is what happens when you're born. From your last trimester in your mother's womb to your last trimester to your mother in your mother's womb to 7 years of age, codes are being uploaded into your subconscious mind. Codes of your family, codes of your culture, codes of where you live, your community, codes. I just went and saw a movie, A Spoonful of Chocolate. And I went to see it because I heard them talking about it on The Breakfast Club. And it just intrigued me. They didn't tell you anything about the movie. They just were mentioning things. And they were talking about how in New York, one of the other guys that's on that show was talking about how in New York you couldn't go in certain areas. Or you black folk couldn't go in certain areas because, you know, you just didn't go in those areas because wasn't nothing good gonna come out of it. Right? And they were talking about these types of things about this movie. And then what got my attention, what piqued my interest in the movie, was there was a white guy who was big time, something with creating the movie music or something. And he saw, RZA is who directed or wrote the movie, and he saw it and he said, I'm going to help you. I'm going to help you do this movie because he said, my people need to see this movie. It was white folk. And I went to see the movie. I ain't going to give it away, but it was a lot. It was a lot. Okay. So, back to this. After 7 years of age, people's thoughts, behaviors, and actions, 95% of people's thoughts, behaviors, and actions are on autopilot from their subconscious mind programming. which means they're operating out of less than 5% of their creative, genius, imaginative mind. So, people, I'm going to end it there. I'll be back next week. But take notes. If you got questions, ask me, and I'll answer them next week. But understanding this right here will help you see why the world looks like it looks. Everything that you see, that you're looking at, going on in the world today comes from the mind and the subconscious programming of the mind that some cultures are inferior to other cultures because of their hue. See, we're all humans, hue, H-U-E. You got the black man, the brown man, the red man, the yellow man, the white man. But at the base of every religious text is that we're beings, spiritual beings. But when we come here and we get coded, and the Bible calls them generational curses, talks about how the generational curses go down to the third and fourth generation, right? That's because everybody come in, they get coded, and they live through that. And it doesn't change until somebody says there's something wrong. Yeshua said it best. Your traditions nullify the truth. So with that, people, I'm your girl, Jazzy J. Just here to share Jazzy J's PSAs. And I want to say jazz love. Jazz do it. Jazz on the journey. And always, and I do mean always, remember in life to jazz as you see it, loves. Mwah. Good night.